What's up, schmucks? Let's talk about a bad thing. The Strangers, Chapter 1 is the third movie in the Strangers series, and it's kind of a remake of the first movie, but it's also a reboot of the franchise, but it's not a prequel, despite what its title or marketing might lead you to believe. Instead, this movie is a first step of a new trilogy set to start the Strangers universe, which sounds absolutely dreadful. This new trilogy, by the way, is releasing in its entirety by the end of the year, so I guess you have that to look forward to. Anyway, The Strangers, Chapter 1 is directed by Rennie Harlan and written by Brian Bertino, Alan R. Cohen, and Alan Friedland. It took 2 Allens to write this? Holy shit. It tells the story of Woman and Man, actual character names, played by Madeline Pesh and Froy Gutierrez respectively. Their car breaks down in a middle of nowhere town, and they decide to stay the night in a cabin, but their night is quickly ruined when the strangers from the movie The Strangers show up. So normally I start with the good and what I liked, and then we go into the bad and what I didn't care for. But I actually hated this movie, and thus we only have the bad section today. So what didn't I like? The 2 main characters are bafflingly sauceless, and I didn't get a whiff of chemistry off of them. Their performances aren't even bad. I just didn't buy that they actually liked each other. They're just 2 hot people rubbing on one another, and that's not anything. Not to mention, these characters are annoyingly stupid. You wanna know how this part ends? He threatens her, and then he says a shitty one-liner before getting knocked the fuck out by Baghead. It's really dumb. This movie's also lazy as shit, cliche and bland at every turn. Every jump scare is cheap and expected, nothing keeps you on your toes, and if it weren't for how obnoxiously loud my theater was, I would have fallen asleep. Plus, the kills suck too. There are 3 kills in the entire movie, and each kill fucking blows. 2 of them are off-screen, and 1 is a simple stabbing, which is boring. This movie sucks. The leads have no chemistry, the movie's aggressively boring, and there are no scares to speak of. It's riddled with cliches, and the kills are bad. This movie blows, man. Now, I do want to talk some spoilers, but before we do that, I went and saw this movie with my friend Joey, and he wanted to share with you what he thought about the movie. So I'm gonna let him have the floor, and I'll be right back.
I mean, I never watched the first, Strangers movie. But, The Strangers Chapter 1, it really did something for me, man. Like, the amount of, time that I spent not caring about the main 2 characters, and the amount of time that it just didn't do anything to establish a good backstory, or history, or have any sort of good prequel energy. It's really cool. And the setting, being so unappealing, I was really cool too. Just the whole movie was just it was really good at giving you a sense of dread at spending money to be in a theater and just hoping that it's over soon. It was such a great film.
So the tagline in the trailer was, "Witness how the strangers became the strangers," which implies that this movie is going to tell us their origin story. There's a couple problems with this. 1, this is not a prequel. It takes place in the modern day, and the first movie took place in 2008. 2, characters like this do not need origin stories. The thing that made them spooky in the original is that they hunt and kill with no reason. They just want to. That's great. Just keep making anthologies with these guys, or never make one again. Either works. Instead, they want to reimagine the strangers. That's fucking lame. Beyond that, the movie also doesn't show you how they became the strangers. You don't get a lick of backstory in this movie, which, again, I'm not complaining, but if you're gonna put that in the trailer, then maybe follow through on it. Not a single thing is learned about any of these 3 people, about what they want, why they're doing this, why they started doing it, why they're doing it this particular time. And even if this was a prequel, what exactly would the prequel be? Oh wow, you saw them do this thing this one time. Well, guess what? They did it a different time before that. Wow, what a fucking great concept. This movie also plays like a remake of the original. The couple are stalked, hunted, and then killed at the end. The movie even redos the "why are you doing this" part from the original.
Why are you doing this to us? Because you were home.
But it's a worse line.
Why are you doing this to us? Because you're here.
Because you're here does not have the same weight or darkness to it the way the original line did. I know it's not a prequel, but if it were, then you should have them say the same line. Show that this is just their process, their pattern. Instead, for a reboot, they just redo the scene with a less good line. great. The thing is that while I don't love the original, it's still really good, and this movie just rehashes it, but there's no flair added to improve it. When Baghead stands there while Liv Tyler walks around, that freaked me out. When he does it to Woman, I feel nothing. I checked my watch. It's doing things we've seen before, but it's doing them worse. Just compare the endings. They're nearly identical, but the original feels so chilling and unnerving and sad, and this one felt dragged out. It would be so easy to make a different type of Strangers movie. Here's 3 ideas off the dome. 1. The strangers go to a house party and they terrorize an entire group of people opposed to just 2. 2. The strangers go to a house of someone who's incredibly competent at surviving, similar to Your Next. And 3. The strangers go to the house of another serial killer and we get a serial killer frenzy of them trying to kill one person who's super excited to kill them instead. These might be bad, I don't know, but again, that's off the dome. Finally, like I said up top, this movie is step 1 in a new Strangers trilogy, with chapter 2 and 3 releasing by the end of the year. Apparently the idea is to follow Madeline Pesch's character for 3 films as she deals with trauma and I guess the strangers again 2 more times. Director Rennie Harlan says these 3 movies will not only tell Woman's story, but they'll also set up the Strangers universe. Here's the thing. I can almost guarantee you that this will not happen. This movie was made on an $8.5 million budget, and it made that back in like a weekend, because what is that, like 4 tickets? And this is a smart business model. This is what Blumhouse did for the longest time. They produced cheap horror movies, that way when they made a bunch of money, they had a huge return on investment. The difference is that Blumhouse was producing good movies, and so the second and third movies in this new Strangers trilogy are going to release this year. They've already made the second one, and it's going to flop so fucking hard. This movie is really bad, and people will likely not be coming back for chapter 2. And if that one is also bad, then no one is showing up for chapter 3. So I see a possibility of 2 releasing, flopping like no movie has flopped before, and then chapter 3 going to Netflix or something. And from there, this whole Strangers universe bullshit will just not happen. That all being said, I will in fact be seated opening weekend for the next 2 movies. No questions asked. Is this the worst movie of the year? Yeah, probably. For me, its only competition is Founders Day, and I'll give Founders Day some leniency, but only because it's a small budget film not backed by a massive studio. The Strangers Chapter 1 is the 3rd entry in an ongoing franchise produced by Lionsgate. So, you know, this movie is bad, but like I said, I am going to see the next 2, and I'll probably review them too. Anyway, if you like this, leave a like. If you didn't, then leave a dislike. Subscribe if you want to hear me talk about movies some more, and I will see you next time. Bye!